Hello and welcome to Living Epic, the online course. This introductory lecture is going to serve as the introduction both to the Living Epic short course offered through the College of Continuing Studies at UConn and to CAMS 3208, Gaming Homer, which is going to be offered in the spring semester. The reason I'm using this video lecture, for both of those things is that it's an introduction to the basic concept that underlies both courses. That is, this idea that video games are actually, in a manner of speaking, not really new. That, in fact, they are as old, at least, as the Homeric epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and probably older than that because, as we'll talk about, the Iliad and the Odyssey build on a foundation that's even older than they are. In any case, welcome to the course. This lecture is going to be the underlying concept. The next video lecture is going to have stuff about the materials and the activities for the course, and that will be different for the Living Epic short course and for CAMS 3208. Alright, so I was driving home from work one night listening to NPR, National Public Radio, and this was in the fall of 2003. And I heard a story about the upcoming release of a game called Halo 2 for Microsoft's Xbox console. Now, I had been a gamer as a kid, an Atari Intellivision, ColecoVision gamer, and then had stopped for a while and had a dorm mate who had a Nintendo Entertainment System, the original one, with Super Mario, and played a bit with him. And then when I went out to California, my fiancée at the time, my wife now, got me a Nintendo Entertainment System of my own, and I played some Super Mario and played some baseball, but was unable, due to my grad student finances, to kind of keep up with the various things that were going to be released from that time on, and so fell behind. Then, having gotten my degree and managed to find a wonderful job here at UConn, I was driving home that evening in 2003 and heard the story about how for the Xbox, a console that I had salivated over just reading about in the paper when it was released in 2001, released in September 2001, which is going to prove important as we move on. In any case, that now Halo 2 was being released, and we had a little bit of disposable cash, and my birthday was coming up, so I went to the store and bought myself an Xbox and Halo 2 and told my wife that she'd gotten me a wonderful birthday present this year. In any case, I then played Halo 2 and also ended up playing Halo 1 and found them to be extraordinary experiences, and I wasn't sure why. I finally decided that I had to investigate why it was that I was enjoying shooting aliens, frankly, so much. And it seemed to me that what was going on somehow was a new kind of storytelling, because at that point I hadn't yet connected the dots that I would later connect. In any case, later that year, or actually rather 2004 in the spring, I was looking for something new to do in one of my lectures about Virgil's Aeneid. And usually I talk about the American Civil War. I talk about how Virgil's Aeneid is a response to Rome's Civil War, a way of mythologizing a wonderful past and a wonderful future for your country, that is, our country with our Civil War, and Rome with the Roman Civil War, and Virgil's epic story of how the hero Aeneas founds a city that will found a city that will found Rome, I always say is a kind of mythological response, just as Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is a kind of mythological response. But now I was looking for something else to do, and it struck me that Halo 2, with its story of a supermarine who saves the universe from a bunch of religiously motivated fanatical aliens, really, I thought, had a lot to do with the national trauma of 9/11, where we felt ourselves to be attacked by religiously motivated enemies, and we felt that huge national trauma as something that needed to be healed. it seemed to me that Halo 2, especially with the way that the player plays as an alien about halfway through the game, was a very interesting mythological response to that trauma, much in the way Virgil's Aeneid was. So I did this lecture. I brought the Xbox to class, and that in itself, of course, made my students kind of perk up. But I also saw that there was something kind of beyond that in the way they were reacting. That is almost a hunger for figuring out why video games were as important to them as they were, and really as they had become to me, because I really did sense that there was something going on culturally with these games. And so I kind of followed it along. I wrote an essay for a gaming journal called The Escapist, which was called Bungie's Epic Achievement. Bungie is the company that put Halo together. And I kind of thought that was the end of it, except that as I was writing it, I was asked by my colleague Sarah Johnson to put together a talk for the Classical Association of Connecticut meeting the following fall. This would be fall 2004. And I decided to ask if she wanted me to bring my Xbox to the meeting and do a fun talk along those lines. And she said yes. And so I started to put it together with a more classical focus. And that was my eureka moment, when I realized that the reason that these games have such power over me, and also I think over many of the people who play them, that is, these adventure games where you play as somebody having an adventure, whether it's saving the universe from fanatical aliens, or whether it's doing quests to find a holy object and save the mythical fantasy world of a game like The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. In any case, these adventure games, I realized, really did reawaken the ancient Homeric epic tradition, above all because they were participatory. They let the adventure video games allow the player to improvise his or her own course through the story in the same way that the bards, the Homeric bards, improvised their way through the stories that they were telling to ancient Greek audiences. And that, in a nutshell, is the summary of the themes of the course. We're going to be talking about what it means that both these wonderful traditions, the old tradition of the Homeric epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and the new tradition of video games like Halo and World of Warcraft, are participatory. And that what that means for what we can say about what video games are doing for us and to us, and how that relates to what we can say and what people like Plato did say about what the Homeric epics did for and to ancient Greek civilization. To put it very succinctly, if the Iliad and the Odyssey were good for ancient Greek culture, and I think, although we may argue back and forth a little bit about it, I think we have to say that they were good, above all because they inspired things like Plato and Thucydides and Herodotus, and then an entire culture and civilization that came after that, including our own civilization. If we say that the Iliad and the Odyssey are good things, then do we, and I think we do we have to say that video games, adventure video games, are potentially very good things for us as well? And that, again, in a very brief compass, is what the course is about. Well, there's more introduction to the themes to be done, and so there will be a part 2 of this basic introductory lecture. But because I've managed to get through this fairly well, and I don't have advanced video editing equipment or facilities, I'm going to stop this one right here and put it in the can, and then start up another one for part 2. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in part 2.